I guess the big question within our country right now, well, there's many big questions, but the one that we're grappling with when it comes to states like Texas, Louisiana, Oklahoma is, should religion be implemented within schools? And when we're talking about religion in this case, it's mostly just Christianity. Because from what I understand, from what I've seen on the news, it's not really other individuals studying other religions or practicing other religions like Islam, Buddhism, Judaism. I don't see those individuals trying to implement those practices within the school. It's mostly just Christianity. And when I talk about schools, it's mostly just public education, because I do know that there are some people, and I don't have a problem with if a school wants to implement religion, because I do understand there are private schools that have religious undertones. Like there are some private schools that are surrounded by Catholicism. I hope I said that right. But they practice Catholics. They're practicing Catholics within that school, something to that degree. I understand that. And I feel like that's the case. If you are an individual who's willing to pay for an education that is more centered around something, then that's for you. But within the public education, that was made free. It's not really free because we as taxpayers are taxed, and that money goes into that resource. But to a degree, we can say it's free. I feel like since public education entails everybody, first of all, you can't just begin implementing, and that's kind of a big argument as well. You can't just begin implementing one belief and not begin implementing the other prophets or the other practices as well. But that's not what I'm here to talk about today, because I feel like it's so overplayed as an argument. Even though it's truthful, it's just too overplayed. But in my other videos, which is another video I made was about religion. Should we implement religion in schools? And like I said, it's mostly just within the public education system and based on Christianity. But in my other video, I kind of talked about why the reasons I believe the founding fathers created in our Constitution talks about keeping the church and the state separate. And I think for them, they've seen that during their time period, how extreme religion could get, especially when it came to the Catholic Church, and seeing things like the Spanish Inquisition would happen years and years before them. And then not only that, but to me too, when I also talked about how it's kind of weird to me how, there's churches, which to a degree is a religious school, in that nature. Why wouldn't, to me, it feels like if a child isn't already going to church, not just on Sundays, but even to a Wednesday, like when I was growing up, me and my brothers, we all went to Wednesday studies, in the afternoon for like 2 hours or something to that nature, and like an hour and a half. And we studied with the Mennonites. And they were nice people. But never, it was never. And I feel like if that's the case, church doesn't just happen on Sundays. There are places where you can go study religion on a Wednesday or Thursday or Friday or something of that nature. If you're Catholic, sometimes they have mass all throughout the day on Sunday, So to me, to implement religion in school doesn't make any sense when, like I said, there's already church, which is the religious school. But not only that, I feel like if Republicans are so keen on trying to promote religion, I don't really know the basis of why, because I read a few articles. I don't really know the basis of why they want to try to implement religion most. And what I mean by religion, the Republicans are practicing Christians. I don't believe many of them are Christians. I think it's just a big lie they say. I really do. I think some of them don't have a heart. I think some of them are shallow. I'm not saying all Republicans are like that. Just some of them, I think it's just a big game for them. I think they just see that since a majority of people in the United States are Christian, then they feel like that's something they have to push, and that's not the case. But anyway, like I was saying, I don't understand the reason for why they want to implement Christianity within schools. that sense. I don't know what they're going to gain from it. And not only that, I feel like I said, if they're so big and keen on implementing it, why not just invest in some type of after school program where children can go to the churches within their local communities, and be, in a sense, be fed, and maybe not be fed, but it's an after school program. They can have a snack, they can learn about Jesus and the Old Testament, the New Testament, whatever. Maybe they can invest in after school program at the school where a pastor or a preacher or somebody comes in, and those children who are interested in learning more about their beliefs can, the Christian beliefs, can come in, or even people who are just interested about, maybe even about learning about Christianity, can just come in and just learn about it. And because for me personally, as somebody, like I said before, somebody who has studied education, I don't understand why you would want to implement religion into a curriculum when teachers, they did not study to be theologians, if that makes sense. I don't know if other people have this idea around teaching, but the reason why I studied education, there's a variety of reasons, but here's another one, is because for me personally, I am trying to master, or have mastered, what it takes to be a historian. I feel like I can call myself a historian to some degree. Maybe not as, maybe not so much, but to some degree, since I have the credentials, I feel like I can call myself a historian. But there are skills you need to be a historian. And my job is that school for too long has been about memorizing facts. And when it comes to history, I feel like that's also the reason why so many kids find it so boring, is that we're just shoving information down into their throats and not allowing them to actually collect the information and create a story. Because that's what history is. You're actually trying to create a story, whether that be a story about an individual, about a group, about a nation, whatever. You're trying to create a story, and then from that story, you're trying to predict, what is going to happen next. Is there any way to solve this to some degree? That's what we're trying to do. It's all about synthesizing and analyzing, breaking down information, and then bringing it back together. That's what you're trying to do. And so if somebody tried to tell me that they were going to try to implement religion within history, to some degree, maybe I can teach. It depends on what the curriculum is trying to be based around. If they're trying to tell me to teach the history of Judaism, the history of Islam, or the history of Christianity here in this case, okay, maybe I could teach the history, but I can't go around teaching you about salvation, spiritual salvation, spiritual guidance, because I'm not a theologian. I didn't go to learn about saving the soul, guiding people religiously. I didn't go to school to learn about that. Me as a person, I do practice Christianity, but that doesn't mean that I feel appropriate trying to teach somebody of that nature. Okay, that's not me. And the same thing that goes with a first grade teacher. Why should a first grade teacher who learned more about the education of a mind of a first grader, somebody who's trying to teach them, math, reading, science, whatever, why should they be trying to implement religion when they're not a theologian? A preacher, a pastor, a father, a Buddhist monk, whoever, they have been studying this. Like I've said, they have mastered it. They have figured out ways to master spiritual guidance, spiritual salvation. Why can't you hire somebody to do that? Why are you putting this? Because teachers, I think we all understand in this country, public education, it has an issue. There are issues within it. But now here's something else the teachers are now burdened with am I teaching the practice of Jesus right? Am I teaching his word right? Am I teaching the history of the Old Testament right, of the New Testament right? Because if they're not, and a kid really knows, or a kid always is going to church and they're saying, no, I don't think this is right. Now here's something else. Or if the teacher, or if a student is feel like, they're trying to push something on them from religion, then they're gonna call out that teacher. Because I'm a history, like when I was practicing in a classroom, you know, there were days like, oh my goodness, I hope I'm not telling these kids the wrong information. Like, even though I know what I'm talking about, you know, there's days you're like, oh, I hope I'm not telling them wrong. And one day I didn't mess up on a map, and a kid had to retell me. I don't know, I think I got confused with like the ocean and the country, and I colored in the wrong thing, and I had to go quick, and good thing they told me. But that's what I'm talking about. Like, we're still human beings, we still make mistakes. But I guess from that idea, it would be just, why are we trying to push something new on teachers when in fact they did not study that? They did not study theology unless they are a theologian teacher, you know. You know, they studied what it's like to teach a first grader or a fifth grader, or what it's like to teach English or history. You know, it just doesn't make any sense to me, like I said. And I feel like, and if that's the case, if we want to start implementing Christianity school, wouldn't it make more sense to just create an elective? Like, I don't feel like there's anything wrong with trying to create an elective and hiring somebody. I don't care if it's a pastor or a preacher or somebody who actually has a degree in theology, you know. I don't know, you know, because I don't know if that's what the degree is called, but you know what I mean. Like, somebody who has studied it. You know, wouldn't it make more sense to have an elective teach Christianity? Because not many people, if you have not read the Bible or know a little bit of information about it, not only do we know that there are different versions of it, but the translation from Greek and Latin or from the other languages, it actually gets messed up. And not only that, for too long, I feel like we have thought that it's just easy for the common man, you know, the common individual to interpret the Bible. You know, that's something that was belief and felt as, during the Protestant kind of movement, I believe it was, you know, during evangelicalism, you know, we believe that we can just read the Bible on our own. No, we can't. Let me tell you, sometimes I'll be skimming over passages so many times, trying to figure out what they just said. And sometimes I have so many questions, and I'm like, this does not make sense. Because I think that's the truth. We as individuals, I don't think we really can. We need somebody to help work out the Bible for us. And for you to just start putting the Bible into a classroom with the curriculum and have a first grade teacher to try to read that to the students, or a fifth grade teacher try to read that to the students, it's not going to work. With our literacy rates as well, I don't know exact figures. Some people say it's 54%. Some people say it's a little bit lower. Some people say, you know, the average American read at a 6th grade level and below. Some say we read at an 8th grade level and below. I don't know. But let me tell you something. I have a college education, like I said. And you don't need a college education to read the Bible. But let me tell you, it does take some time to read that Bible. And if a student is reading at a 2nd grade, 3rd grade, a 6th grade level, they're not really going to understand it. It is too long. It is too heavy. It is too dry. They're not going to understand it. It's just too much going on. And I'm sorry for the ranting. I'm not trying to attack anybody when, you know, I'm not trying to say it's right or wrong to put religion in schools, to put Christianity in schools. But I think just these Republican states just going about just saying, okay, here we go, we're going to redesign the curriculum now and add religion to it, add Christianity to it. That's what it really is about. Because it's not about religion, it's about Christianity. I think it's just very poor of them, because they're not really thinking about, like I said, I don't think many of them have a good reason for why they want to do it. I think they just make up excuses to why they want to do it. And sometimes when I read their reasons, I can see right through them. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like I said, you know, I don't think some of them have a good reason for why they want to do it. I think they just want to do it. I don't think they've thought about, you know, what if other children practice other religions and now you're just talking about Jesus, you know. What else? Like I said, I think it would be much more smarter just to create an elective within your classes, at least on the high school level, the middle school level. And if children, whether they're Christians or not, can go and study it, they can learn it. Because there's nothing wrong with learning about other people, other religions, other practices, other cultures. Like I said, I'm a historian. That's all I do every day of my life. And when I was in school, we actually had a segment in history class where we learned about the history of Islam and the history of Christianity, and nobody said anything. But he wasn't trying to say this was wrong or this was right. And I feel like implementing just Christianity in the school, I feel like that to a degree is what they're trying to do. I think they're trying to say, well, this religion is, since it's the dominant religion within the United States, I think that last time I checked, I think it was like 63% of people are practicing Christians within the United States. I'm not sure though, so don't take my word on that. But I think that's at least how we feel within the United States, that it's a dominant practice of faith. And we feel like, oh, it'd be safe just to put in the schools. So like I said, I'm not trying to say it's right or wrong to put Christianity in schools. What I'm trying to say is that I don't feel like many of these Republicans who say they're Christians or who believe it's the right religion or the one religion, are doing it with good intentions. I think they're just doing it because they want to control or dominate other people. And not all the Republicans are like that. But I do feel like, unfortunately, just like within our police system, the bad apples really rot out the whole system. And I think that's true. The same thing can be said for the Democrats. Some of them I don't feel like they think with full sense either. I think that there's some bad apples within the Democratic Party that just rot out the whole federal system. And that's our problem today. I think there's just too many bad people who are just corrupting the federal system and making everybody believe it's bad when it's not. But that's all I have to say. I guess the last thing I would say is that, what is it? I guess when I was talking about, I made another video asking whether or not, the United States could see another civil war. And I don't know. I feel like to some degree, even though we've seen like things like this within other countries, I don't think we have yet to see something like this within our own in the United States, And it's kind of scary because I think to a degree we know where it could head. Like I said, I said that in my other video when the big question was, can the United States go through another civil war? I think to some degree we know where this is going to, with the extremism within the Republican Party today. And that's what I talked about in the other video too, is how both political parties are becoming too extreme and they're creating social tension within the United States. But I feel like we need to tread lightly. And I feel like, but this terrain we are treading on, if we, even to agree, if we are treading lightly, I feel like it's really going to end up becoming something, I don't know, something of violence, but I don't know how violent it could get. Maybe people would just continue to hate one another or dislike one another, or maybe we could get something like January 6th that could cause an eruption of violence across the United States. I'm not too sure, but I think that as Americans, we need to be very cautious about extremism. And a lot of times we look at other countries and we're like, oh, that's happening over there. Oh, it could never happen here with our system. But like I said, it just takes a few bad people to rot out the whole system that our founding fathers took months and months to debate on. Like, these men were very educated. Like, even though, like I said before, and I said it in another video too, like I understood these men had slaves and maybe some of them were not morally just for some of the things they did. But you cannot deny that these men were educated, and these men took very much time to create the Constitution, because that first thing they created, I forget the name, that's how bad it was. Not a lot of people know the first set of laws that they made. They just were not good, okay? The states were not united. It was just not good. They took time again. They took months to debate this once more, trying to figure out what we're going to do. And they came up with our Bill of Rights, and they came up with our Constitution. So the things that our founding fathers created, we need to respect them. We need to understand why they went about creating them. We can't just start sorry, I know that wasn't a bad word, but we can't just start upheaving them. We can't just start just saying, oh, well, maybe they implied this, maybe they implied that. No, that's what they meant, and that's what we have to do, and we have to understand why they did that. And that makes sense. So yeah, that's all I want to leave you on today. Like I said before, it's not whether or not religion, in the sense Christianity, should be implemented in the public school. Like I said before, I think it's many individuals within the Republican Party who just, while they say they have good intentions, they really don't. They just want to do it for the controlling aspect of it, to make people feel as if Christianity, sorry, I probably still didn't say that right. I have a bad hillbilly accent, so nothing I say probably ever comes out right, ever. That's why degree, sometimes I'm afraid of teaching, because these kids are probably going to think I'm crazy. Like, why are you talking like this? But yeah, like I said, they just want to have that controlling aspect. And to me, it would just make more sense if we got an individual who has studied it, who has, like I said, mastered it, who understands how, if the whole idea of religion, of implementing Christianity into school, is to help children, I don't know, seek some type of spiritual salvation. This is also why I said I don't understand why they're doing it. I guess it's for spiritual salvation, spiritual guidance, when it makes sense to create, like I said, after school program where they're going to churches, or where a pastor or priest or some type of religious figure is coming into the school teaching them, if they want to sign up for that. Or they can have some type of elective in school during school hours, where they can sign up for it. Like, that just to me makes more sense, because like I said, I don't understand what their true intentions are. I really don't. I read one article where the man was like, the Bible is the fundamental text of the Western world, and if you don't understand the Bible, you're not going to understand anything taught in schools. That is not even, no, I'm sorry. Like, that did not make no sense to me. And that was a New York Times article. If I find it again, I'll link it. Sometimes you can only read from the New York Times. I think it's like 3 articles a month for free. But if I find it again, I'm going to link it. If I remember. Hopefully I do. But that's all I have to say today. Like I said, we have to be treading lightly. And we have to understand what the Founding Fathers said. With that, have a good day. Be careful out here in these streets. Read a book. Go to the libraries. You can get a library card for free. Sometimes you can even read free books online from open libraries. So yeah, go out there and read. Helps expand your mind. Helps you understand what's going on in the United States too. But with that, I'll see y'all later, because I'm about to be late for work again.